This is the Camellia Trail driving tour of Greenville, Alabama. The Camellia Trail will take you through 8 historic districts in Greenville, all on the National Register of Historic Places. You'll see many heirloom camellia plants as well as newer gardens. We owe a great debt of gratitude to past generations for their dedicated horticultural work in planting these lovely evergreen shrubs that make the town a floral showplace. The late J. Glenn Stanley dreamed a dream of making Greenville the Camellia City and lived to see his idea become reality. He held the first camellia show in Greenville and Butler County at his home in 1937. As newspaper editor, he adopted the Camellia City slogan for the Greenville Advocate in 1938. Greenville adopted the camellia as a city flower, and residents followed the theme by planting hundreds of beautiful shrubs. During the World War II years, Butler County's home demonstration clubs initiated planting camellias as memorials to loved ones in the military. Many older homes in rural Butler County have camellias planted on their lawns as tributes to veterans. Schools, garden clubs, church groups, and civic organizations all participated in camellia plantings. From their work, the Camellia City became legendary. Butler County State Representative Lamont Glass introduced the bill that made the camellia Alabama's state flower in 1959. Today, as 2019 heralds the 60th anniversary of our state flower, Greenville's camellias are being planted anew. The blooms are celebrated by local artists and craftsmen and seen in floral displays and interior decor in regional homes and businesses. Greenville can truly be proud of its enduring heritage as the Camellia City. Let's begin the driving tour. Starting at City Hall and Confederate Park in downtown Greenville, proceed east on Commerce Street towards the Butler County Courthouse. You will pass camellias at several beautiful old homes and landmarks, including the Porter Martin House, the Henry Beeland Stanley Home, which has served as the backdrop for many photographs of Greenville's camellia beauties, the First Presbyterian Church, and St. Elizabeth Catholic Church. Camellias line the sidewalk in front of Bank Trust Bank, where the Mattie Thaggart House, Waller House, and other antebellum homes once stood. Miss Mattie was perhaps Greenville's first true horticulturalist, and a camellia that grew on her property was given her name. Next, turn right, which is south, onto Hickory Street, then right on Walnut Adams Street. You will pass Pioneer Cemetery and the First Methodist Church, ending at Church Street. Go left on Church Street to the intersection of Dunklin and Herbert Streets, with St. Thomas Episcopal Church on the corner. The original Pride of Greenville camellia was planted at 301 Church Street in 1897 by W. J. Beeland. His historic home, now owned by Jeffrey and Laura Fuller, was once flanked by huge camellia bushes, a few of which remain. Next, turn left east on Dunklin Street and drive to Park Street. Notice the large camellias in the southeast corner of Pioneer Cemetery as you turn right onto Park Street. These were planted in 1950 by individuals and civic organizations to be used for floral cuttings for civic events. Aurelia Herbert, Mrs. Willis B. Calhoun, who grew the first known camellias in Greenville, is buried in this historic cemetery. Past several beautiful gardens, including camellias, at Ramona and Gary Martin's historic home at 315 South Park. Turn left on Palmer Street. Go 1 block to South Pine, turn left on South Pine, and return to Dunklin Street. Next, continue east on Dunklin to Hickory Street, passing a magnificent garden of camellias at 310 Dunklin Street. This garden was planted early in the 20th century by the Spear family at their home adjacent to Spear Hospital. It was originally the home of industrial entrepreneur John T. Milner and Flora Caldwell, and is now the home of the Tim Skipper family. Turn right on Hickory, passing several large old camellias on different lawns. At Field Street, go left 1 block to South Conecuh and turn right. A short drive to Camellia City Baptist Church will take you by the several old plants. Turn around and return to the courthouse. Next. Your tour should include a trip out East Commerce to the late Genevieve Poole's historic home, originally the Thagard Plantation, at 2326 Luverne Highway, just east of Greenville, where a mammoth alba plena planted in 1886 can still be seen in grounds landscaped by noted Butler County landscape architect Stuart Washburn. Return on Commerce to Beeland Park. The sunken gardens at the park's entrance were among the first camellias planted in the park. In 1944, the city planted camellias on the west side of Beeland Park, across the stream from the water treatment plant, with City Councilman Henry Steindorf and Bill Perdue overseeing the project. Make the circular drive to the right and view the collection at the City Waterworks plant and nature trail, now overgrown, where wild camellias found in Butler County were planted in 1962. Drive onto the east side of the gardens, where beautiful camellias of many different varieties can be seen in the wooded area adjacent to the parking lot and tennis courts. Next. Return to Commerce to the courthouse. Bear right around the courthouse circle and turn right on North Conecuh. Go 1 block and turn left on Cedar Street. Note the large old camellia garden at the corner of Cedar and Chestnut. Turn right on Chestnut and then left on Thames Street, passing several old plants. Turn left on Burnett Street and drive to Cedar Street. A beautiful Professor Sargent camellia can be seen in Bill and Magoo Hamilton's yard at the corner of Burnett and Cedar. Turn right onto Cedar and go 1 block to Fortdale Road. At the Fortdale-Cedar intersection, you will see several large heirloom camellias directly ahead at the antebellum Lane Kendrick Shirling home at 109 Fortdale. Next. Facing the Shirling house, turn right, north, on Fortdale Road, passing the First Baptist Church and Railroad Underpass to the W.O. Palmer School. Turn right into the school grounds on Butler Street and drive through the campus, coming out on Overlook Road. Continue on Overlook Road to Brookside Drive. Go left, noticing Bobby and Earlene Johnson's garden on the left corner, and on the right, Mrs. Lewis Atkins' large camellia gardens. Make the loop of Brookside Drive and return to Overlook. Turn left on Overlook and go to the end at 409 Overlook Road, where the large camellia gardens are on the northeast side and rear of the home of Estelle Champion and her late husband, Ben Champion. Return to Overlook to Woodland Drive. Turn right and view the magnificent variety of camellia gardens planted by the Beelands, Steindorfs, and William Fox. Be sure to make the Woodland Court and Woodland Drive loop to get a full view of these outstanding gardens. Notice the beautiful camellias at Steve and Robin Norman's house, 279 Woodland Drive, which were established by the late Henry Steindorf, who registered 5 varieties of Greenville camellias. Also view Bob and Ellen Glasscock's gardens at 148 Woodland Court in the Center Island, formerly the Marvin Klein Gardens. Next. The trail continues right on Overlook back to the school campus. Turn right on Stewart Street and return to Fortdale. Turn right north on Fortdale and notice the fine old camellias in the sloping gardens behind the rock wall to the left at 403 Fortdale. This historic home was the carriage house of the Richardson estate. As you drive north on Fortdale, you pass many fine camellia plants, including those of John and Donna Smith at 518 Fortdale. These are the late Park Smith Gardens, where the original Lillian Jernigan camellia was grown. Pine Leaf Lane, a short street to the east, has several new camellia plantings. Next. Continue on Fortdale. You will view large camellias in many yards. Several homes along the street use camellia gardens as property line dividers. The antebellum home of the late Dr. Vernon Stabler Sr. at 710 Fortdale Road, landscaped by Stuart Washburn, has a fine collection of old camellias, including the Stabler Pink, which Dr. L.V. Stabler registered in 1954. Another Stabler home at 821 Fortdale has lovely camellias viewed from a distance. Next, from Fortdale, turn right east on Country Club Drive, a street landscaped with many fine old camellias. Notice the beautiful pink perfection at the corner of Redbud Lane and Country Club, and view other camellias in gardens along the way, including those at the home of noted local camellia artist Juanita Carter at 224 Country Club Drive. Don't miss the gorgeous camellia gardens of the late Ed Jernigan at 212 Country Club Drive. The Jernigan Gardens include the Lamont glass camellia, named for the Butler County legislator who introduced the bill making the camellia Alabama's state flower in 1959. Mr. Glass's business was located on Fortdale Road at the corner of Forest Drive, a site where shrubs that he planted a half-century ago still bloom all during the year. Continue on Country Club from the Jernigan Gardens and turn right on Glendale, then bear left on Redbud and left on North Perry to return to Fortdale. Next, turn left east on Fortdale. You may wish to make a side tour on Sunset Drive Loop to the right to see other lovely camellias. At 201 Sunset, view the Grayson Garden originally planted by the Thompsons. Continue on Fortdale to the intersection with College Street, bearing right on College at the traffic light. Continue on College to Oak Street, noticing the large camellias on the southwest corner of College and Oak. Turn left on Oak and then right on Oliver Street. The original Kingsbury Gardens are at the large residential property to the right at 215 Oliver Street. These gardens include some of the oldest camellias in Greenville, planted in 1863 by John Kingsbury, a Vermont native who established a prosperous brick-making business in Greenville. The gardens were enlarged in later years by Ralph Piegler family, and the historic property is now the home of Tim and Angela James. Next, continue the tour by turning right on South Street, where you will see several large old camellias along the street. At 408 South Street, now the home of Brent and Kent Lambert, view the former gardens of Robert G. Hendrick, who registered the Robert G. Hendrick Camellia with the American Camellia Society in 1954. Return to College Street and turn left, driving 1 block to the intersection and the City Water Tower. Next, turn right west on Commerce Street and drive a short distance to Magnolia Cemetery, where many camellia varieties were planted by different groups over the years. The Butler County High School Future Farmers of America classes planted some of these fine shrubs. Landscape architect Stuart Washburn began landscaping Magnolia Cemetery shortly before his death in 1945, and his heirs donated a number of fine camellias to the cemetery as a memorial. Enter the cemetery at the main entrance on West Commerce Street and exit through the west section to Commerce Highway 10 Veterans Parkway. Turn right east on Commerce and pass Mrs. Willie Mae Robinson's home at 900 West Commerce, where several lovely old camellias were planted by the Dunn family many years ago. A side tour 2 blocks south of West Commerce Highway 10 leads through beautiful camellias at the old Alabama Mills Village on Lucille Street. Next, continue east on Commerce Street to Bowling Street, just under the train overpass. Don't miss the beautiful gardens on the west side of the train station that were planted by the late Russell Salter, a ticket agent for the depot. Go right on Bowling Street and turn into the Greenville Chamber of Commerce parking lot at the depot for a better look at the gardens. The handsomely restored train station is a fine example of Spanish Revival architecture. Next, return to Bowling Street, turning right as you exit the depot lot, and pass lovely camellias at the Robertson home at 423 Bowling Street. Shirley Robertson's fine camellia paintings show his love for our city flower. Bear left at the intersection with South College Street, Highway 185, and view the many beautiful camellias planted in Paul Langford's outstanding gardens on the west side of the highway. Make the loop to the right on Old Bowling Road around the Langford Gardens and return to Bowling Street. Drive on Bowling to Milner Street and turn right, then go right on Caldwell to Herbert Street. Next. At the intersection of Herbert and Caldwell, notice the lovely camellias planted by the late Mac Walton, father of Butler County Historical Society charter member Guy Walton. At the rear of the corner lot, turn left onto Herbert Street. The old Herbert home and shrubs were removed when a parking lot was constructed, but the street still has many lovely trees and plantings. It is said that Aurelia Herbert, who came from South Carolina to Greenville as a teenager with her family in the late 1840s, brought the first camellia to our city. Drive to Church Street, viewing the beautiful gardens of Jean and Nonnie Harden at 105 Herbert on the right. Mrs. Harden is the daughter of the late J. Glenn Stanley, the noted local newspaper editor who first named Greenville the Camellia City in 1938. Jean Harden, Shirley Robertson, and other Greenville men active in the camellia horticulture helped plant the lovely camellias that visitors see today at the Alabama Governor's Mansion. Next. From Herbert Street, turn right on Church Street at St. Thomas Episcopal Church and drive to Commerce Street. Turn right on Commerce to return to the point of the beginning. The Camellia Trail tour in front of City Hall. The first camellias on the City Hall lawn were donated by the Greenville Lions Club, and the first camellias planted in Confederate Park opposite City Hall were donated by the Greenville Garden Club. The park was landscaped in later years by Stuart Washburn. This is the end of the Greenville Camellia Tour. Many other beautiful camellia plants and gardens can be seen around Greenville. A fine camellia garden is located on Fortdale Road, 1 mile north of the historic Pass intersection with Interstate 65. These gardens were originally planted by the late Dr. H. Philip Spear at his home and farm called Mimosa Row. Mrs. Reedy Gregory had a spectacular collection of camellias at her home on Steiner Store Road in northeast Butler County, not far from Bruce and Louise Perdue, who have camellias planted by his mother, Frances Andress Perdue, and as a memorial to her sons, Willie, Joseph, and Bruce, veterans of World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Wayne and Jeanette McVeigh also have a large collection of camellias at their home beside the Perdues, and opposite Barbara Middleton planted a newer variety garden at her home in 1980. A lovely old camellia garden can be found on Highway 10, several miles west of Interstate 65 at the former Oakley and Irene McFerrin Nursery. Several beautiful plants can be seen on Manningham Road and along the Ridge Road. Local dairyman John Nix was a camellia enthusiast who landscaped his home at 130 Manningham Road with beautiful gardens. During 1944 and 1945, he planted 36 camellias in the circular drive at his dairy. He placed pictures of the Pride of Greenville, Beauty of Greenville, and Alba Plena camellias on his dairy milks containers, promoting Greenville as a camellia city all over the state. This Camellia Trail driving tour was designed by Butler County Historical and Genealogical Society President Barbara Perdue Middleton from personal surveys of Greenville's camellias as well as research in the Greenville Advocate and other sources. The tour was published originally in October of 2004 for the Butler County Historical Society's 40th anniversary and updated January 2009 to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the camellia as Alabama's state flower. Thank you.